Hey everybody, Greg Cazillo from Cazillo.com. Let's talk about that expose for the highlights and a print for the shadows idea that I talked about this past Tuesday in my quick tip. Now, we're going to show you some good photos and some bad photos, and then we're going to go from there. So I'll show you the good and the bad and why you need to be exposing perfectly every single time, or you will be losing color in your images. Okay, so first we have this image, and so let's tell a little story here for you. Say we have an art director, and the art director, we're shooting this product photo for the art director, and the art director says, "Oh man, this lighting is absolutely perfect. I love it. This is it. We're done. This is the last photo." And we take this one photo, we look at the back of the screen and said, "Yep, perfect. Okay, we're done." And we don't bother to look at the histogram, but unfortunately the histogram shows that we're at least 2 stops underexposed. So then we go back and we start editing our photos. And we're like, "Oh man, that looks a little underexposed. So let's bring it back up a stop." And that's not too bad. Not bad, okay. Maybe let's go a little bit more. Let's go to 2 stops. Okay. Yeah, there we go. That's looking really, really good. So maybe let's adjust the brightness a little bit. Okay. There you go. It opens the blacks up a little bit. We bring those blacks down to 4. Okay. There we go. Perfect. Done. Not bad. Now, here's the problem. Look at some of these colors in this image. Okay. Look how choppy this red is right here. Look how bad the background looks up in here. Okay. Here's the well-exposed image, and look how nice that color is. Okay, even at ISO 1600, the only difference in exposure here is between ISO 800 and 1600. As you see, let me go back to the other one. We are at 1/30th of a second at 2.8, ISO 800, 1/30th of a second f2.8, ISO 1600. So that's the only change here is the ISO. Now let me compare these 2 images for you. Oops, that's the wrong one. We're going to get to the other ones in a minute. So, there we go. Look at the difference in color. Just in that red splotch right there. I know this is mostly a black image, so it's a little tough for you to see that. But it is a huge, huge difference. And I will post these up on Flickr and on my website. It's a huge difference in the amount of color that's in here. It is so much smoother. I mean, it is almost black here that almost just gray instead of having any color at all. And that's because you're underexposed. The camera manufacturers know what the heck they're doing. That means that you need a proper exposure. It means knowing how your camera works. That means knowing how your metering works. Watching out for backlit scenes. Watching out for stuff that might throw the meter off in the scene. Not just pointing and clicking. If you want to point and click, that's fine. But if you want to create real photographs, then you need to be paying attention to this stuff. Look at the background up in here. Look how much nicer it is in the normally exposed image at ISO 1600 versus the fixed image. Oh, I'll just fix it in post image. Shot at least a stop under, maybe 2 stops under. So it is a huge, huge difference here in the quality of the 2 images versus the normal exposure at ISO 1600 versus way under, or actually only a stop under. One stop makes this huge of a difference in the image. Okay? Hopefully you're getting my point here and understanding that you really do need to get proper exposure. Let's go to the next image. Same idea. Okay? We're out shooting. We're doing some portraits for somebody. Oh man, this is great. What a great smile. Let's keep on shooting. Look at the screen. Don't check the histogram. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, maybe it's more brightly lit and the back of our screen looks brighter than it really is, or maybe vice versa. Okay, let's keep going. Well, once again, we go and we open this up. Let's say only by 1 stop this time. The skin tone's a little muddy, versus this one where the skin tone is much smoother here. Okay, let's open this one up even a little bit more to 2 stops. Okay? See how it's getting that yellow tone? It's just not right. It's just the exposure is not right. You need to be fixing this. You need to be cognizant of this stuff. So that's why I'm saying shoot for the highlights, print for the shadows. Shoot for the highlights. Let's break this down. Shoot for the highlights means make sure... Hold on, let me get to the right image. We applied that change to both images. That means that you make sure that your highlights aren't too blown out. Now, if these areas right here would have been a lot brighter, okay, then we might have had a spike right here. But it probably wouldn't matter since that spike in the histogram is would have been for that area. And actually, that little bit of blue right there in the very corner of that histogram is from these spots right here. But there's been a lot of photos that I've taken where you have a bright spot in the background. And if I don't want to recompose the shot and I just deal with it, just leave it, that's okay. Let it blow out. So we make sure that our highlights are pushed over to the side to get as much color as possible. Then when we come back, that's when we start printing for the shadows. And we make sure that our black level is at a pleasing level. And we find a good spot with the right amount of contrast. Not that's going to make it all blocky, you know, and the main place you're going to see it here, because this is the dark area, is in his hair. You don't want to make his hair look super dark, so you want to be careful of how much black you're going to put in the image, unless you really want, you know, a crap load of black in the image that just looks horrible sometimes. So, you know, you just need to be cognizant of those things. And so the idea, once again, expose for the highlights, print for the shadows. Let's go over and look at this one more time, just in case. Here's the difference in these two. Alright, this one on the right is a normally exposed image. And by the way, I did absolutely nothing to these photos except for adjust the white balance and then the black change the black level and the exposure that you saw me change during the video. That's all that I did to these, just in case you're wondering. So here's a zoom in version and the additional noise in the background because we had to open that up because it's underexposed. And by the way, I didn't just drag it over 1 stop, I had to drag it over 2 stops. The difference here is just huge. It really is. The color is so much nicer in the ISO 1600 shot versus, and look at the detail. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to show you. Look at the detail in this image, in these two. The detail in his shirt, and even in his beard. Look how much, this is the ISO 800 shot. Look how much detail we're missing, okay? Let's see if we can zoom in a little more. There we go. Look how much more detail, no, what did I do? There. Look how much more detail we have in this one. We can actually see those hairs very nicely versus this image where you can't at all. Look how much detail we have in this shirt on the right. Okay? We can almost see the strands and the fibers in this one right here versus in this one. You can't see any of that. That's gone. It's all blown out. You know, you lost that detail by underexposing the image. And look at the color difference. The color is so much smoother here, so much nicer. That's the color, real color of the shirt. Not, you know, not getting this orangey yellow whatever stuff that's in there because you had to adjust the exposure. The other thing that's happening here is look at his skin tone. It's way off. And these have the same exact white balance setting. That means I need to go back and I need to play with this image, this underexposed image, and fix its white balance and hope that it's going to get close versus this one that has a normal white balance, and they're perfect. So, you know, nice skin tone, the nice shirt color, the whole 9 yards, everything. It's you know, it's a really well exposed, very nice portrait. So, I hope this made the point for you to always expose for the highlights and print for the shadows, and to always check your histogram in your image and to be cognizant of underexposure. Now, there are times you might want to underexpose, just to be sure of that. Now, the one time that I do recommend is when you're shooting a sunset. It is one time that you will want to underexpose. Sometime I will do a video on that, but sometimes I'll underexpose by a stop, maybe 2 stops, and I'll show you why. That's the only time that I can think of that I almost always underexpose an image. But for everything else, we need a perfect exposure. And as I always say, exposure in digital, I believe, is just as picky to get really good color as slide film was back in the day. So hopefully I've shown you that. The error in your ways if you are exposing, and if you're underexposing, I should say, and if you're exposing correctly, hopefully I've given you some affirmation and some ammunition to to throw at somebody else, because to say, oh no, we should be underexposing for everything, and da 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 da. No, bad idea. And once again, these are only, I mean, this one's actually a stop in 800. That's like a stop and a third difference in exposure. But these two were actually only one stop difference. So, oops, huge difference. So I'll post these for you. You can take a look at them. Greg Casillo, Casillo.com. Comments, questions, put them down there. I want to see them. Keep shooting. See ya.